Today, let's talk about Rebel Moon's potential and why it can become the next big franchise. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Road to Rebel Moon. This is the web series where we follow all the latest news and updates regarding Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire. This is episode 16 and this is the final episode of the web series before I see the movie. Tomorrow, December 7th, I will be attending the UK premiere of Rebel Moon, so I will be watching the film on the big screen tomorrow night. So today's episode is just a final video talking about the potential of the Rebel Moon universe, a franchise that originally was pitched to Disney as a Star Wars trilogy, but was rejected by them and now will be on Netflix, and Snyder has full creative control. It's a huge advantage to him that he won't be limited by the Star Wars story and the executives at that company. I think a lot of people agree that the main issue connected universes have are when stories are created without a long-term vision in mind. The Star Wars sequels, for example, completely contradicted one another. The Force Awakens, whilst it was a solid movie, hints at one direction, but then The Last Jedi goes in the complete opposite direction, and then The Rise of Skywalker tries to course correct what happened in The Last Jedi. The DCEU as well started with one vision, but then decided to do something completely different halfway through, and now every movie they make flops. What did both franchises have that caused those stories to be so poorly planned out? Studio executives who thought they knew better than the creatives. They didn't allow their creatives to tell their stories and didn't follow a long-term plan. The Star Wars sequels would have been so much better if they made The Force Awakens with a long-term plan so that The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker felt like true continuations of that story. The same with the DCEU. It would have been much better if they had stuck with one story throughout. Which is why it is so great that Netflix are giving Snyder the creative freedom that the other studios didn't allow. Directors or writers who I call creatives know far more about storytelling than the studios do. A studio trying to tell a creative how to tell a story is like a boss who knows nothing about cars but is good at business trying to tell a mechanic how to fix a car. Even if the mechanic isn't the best mechanic in the world, he will still know more about the car than the boss who just understands business. So no matter what the director or writer comes up with, 9 times out of 10, you're better off just fully committing to what the creative does than having the studio tell the creative to change things halfway through the story. The best example of that is Justice League 2017. The 2017 version is based on what the studio wanted. The 2021 Snyder Cut is what the director wanted. Almost every single person you ask will say the Snyder Cut is better. That doesn't mean they think the Snyder Cut is a great movie, but it means that they think the director's vision is better than the studio's vision. So the fact that Netflix aren't getting in the way of Snyder's work is such a phenomenal thing to hear. We are getting Snyder's full vision, and what is even better is that Snyder acknowledges that for streaming, he needs to tell a story that works for most viewers, which is why the normal version of the film will be 2 hours 15 minutes long. But Netflix still wanted a director's cut of the movie because they support Snyder's vision and also want more of Snyder on their streaming platform. So we will also have a director's cut released soon after the streaming version, which I think is a brilliant idea. It will have 45 minutes to an hour's worth of extra footage, which will be rewarding for those of us who are heavily invested in knowing more about this franchise. The other reason why people should be excited is the fact it looks like an epic science fantasy movie. The visuals are gonna be insane, and the level Snyder has planned out this universe guarantees us that there will be so much depth not only to this movie, but to the entire universe as a whole. Because this isn't a one and done movie. We have part 2 releasing in April next year, and then a planned third movie that will be made. We also have animated prequel shows and comics, and this will lead to so much more. Snyder has basically created a Bible for this universe going back around 800 years. So we have so many different stories to learn about that can go on for years and years. I would love it if this franchise can be as big and as expansive as the Star Wars universe. One canon timeline that everything connects to. I don't really read comics, but if I love this movie, then I will be reading every comic as soon as it comes out. The fact that every comic would add more depth to this franchise and the characters and worlds within it really excites me. I've read some Star Wars comics, and to have a deeper understanding to those characters is something I love, and I want that for the Rebel Moon characters too. Just everything about this screams hype for me. I love Snyder's deep mythological takes on characters, I love the visuals to his films, I love the fight scenes, and I love how epic he makes his movies. The final reason why I think fans should be excited is that there is a distinct gap in the market that Rebel Moon can fill. Star Wars and Marvel have taken a hit. Their hype is down right now. The DCEU is over after Aquaman 2, and the DCU won't properly be seen until 2025, so Rebel Moon is releasing at the perfect time. However, some may argue that Rebel Moon is releasing at a bad time as sci-fi movies are less in demand, or specifically superhero films are, but I disagree. I think firstly, sci-fi movies are less in demand due to generic superhero fatigue. A lot of these films look the same and feel the same, so there is nothing really unique about them, which is causing audiences to not bother turning up. And secondly, some believe that as there is less hype surrounding sci-fi films in general, maybe you could argue that people would be less interested in Rebel Moon. However, I think releasing Rebel Moon when other franchises are less in demand increases the chances of audiences being interested in something other than the most popular franchises out there. When Marvel were at their best, other franchises just starting up struggled to compete. Some of them you don't even know existed because the focus was on the largest franchises only. Anything new that wasn't Marvel wasn't really of interest to audiences. The only smaller franchise that has been successful when Marvel peaked was Amazon's The Boys, and that was because they had such a distinctly different take on the genre that people fell in love with. But now Marvel are on the decline, so is Star Wars, and so is DC. And it's not due to people just being bored of those kinds of movies, it's because the quality of those films have declined. They don't feel unique, and they don't feel as good. And to bring it back to a previous point of mine, they also feel less connected to a larger story. So now there is this perfect opportunity for something else to take their place, or to at least compete with those franchises. People want something that looks new, that looks refreshing. Rebel Moon is that. It's a more serious adult take on the sci-fi / science fantasy genre. Something I hope audiences embrace like they did with The Boys. So that is why I think Rebel Moon has a lot of potential and why I think audiences should be excited for it. I can't wait to see it tomorrow, and if I'm allowed to, I will give my honest thoughts on the movie as soon as I can. But whilst you wait for that, here are some of the early reviews given by fans who got to see it in Brazil at CCXP. The Hollywood Handle said, "Rebel Moon is an instant Zack Snyder classic. Epic battles and a lot of slow motion are present in this amazing movie. With the prevailing soundtrack, Gunnar and Cora are great highlights." Another account said Rebel Moon is epic, beautiful and electrifying, but at the same time somewhat protocol and formulaic. The discussions proposed here are very interesting but still need to be further developed. The action scenes are incredible and look like the director. Excited for part 2. And one final review said, "I watched the first Rebel Moon and the trailer for the second one, and the hype is real, you know? I think it could easily be a series or a mini-series, and it has its problems like every film, but overall, it's very good. Worth the session." But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!